Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Are you telling me you built a time machine? What of a DeLorean?
The Statue of Liberty is kaput. Disconcerting.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
Welcome to the Cine-Siblings Draft, the podcast where me and my brother, James, draft our favorite top fives within film.
Oh, is that the Monty Python reference?
Yeah, it is. All right. Actually, I'm Ian.
And I'm James.
And Jamie, what are we drafting today?
Every man dies. Not every man really lives. And it's that first part of the line uttered by Mel Gibson's William Wallace that we're addressing today as we draft iconic deaths in film. It's the second part of the line that will help us determine how much sorrow, base satisfaction, or even hope that death can inspire.
For sure. This iconic. And I wanna be specific with iconic here is because it is still sort of subjective, right? Iconic, like what makes it iconic, but
to some extent,
to some extent, it wasn't. But you know, that's it's gonna be a fun one, I think.
Yeah,
because I do want to kind of dive in on what makes that iconic and why we chose it. So,
well, yeah, and I think so death is really one of those things that makes even the most hard-nosed rationalists start thinking about what lies beyond.
Right.
And it's really it's why these scenes are so powerful in general or can't have the potential to be, let's say. And they're really often that pivotal moment in a film that can inspire the characters to move forward with confronting the big bad evil guy, or maybe fall into villainy themselves, or even could be the end of their journey, whether it's the death of their adversary or laying down their own life.
True. Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't think I have any bad guy deaths. I'm just looking at my list. I'm like, most of mine are pretty inspiring-ish. Anyway, spoilers.
Yeah, well, it's part of the archetypal nature of, death in general. We like to see that there being positives out of it. And I guess you can make an argument that there's some positives out of a bad guy dying. But the problem, I guess, is that because everybody dies, there's a lot of things to choose from. So I expect today that we are either going to jack each other till kingdom come, or we're just going to leave a whole lot on the table, or probably a little bit of both.
I wrote down 21, but I have a 1A and a 1B, so really it's 22. So if I get jacked, I'll have a backup number one just in case. But I just realized I don't have my deck of actors here with me, so we can just we're gonna do a little spin on the game.
Spin on the game. What's the spin?
So we are going to not just do movies from a particular actor. We're going to do movies from maybe a category, kind of like the game actually supposed to be played. Categories. It's going to be movies with a giant monster.
Oh, okay, cool. I get to go first.
Sure.
Godzilla.
King Kong.
Cloverfield.
Godzilla, King of Monsters.
Monsters.
What's that?
It's an independent alien film.
Troll.
Is it Troll or Trolls?
Trolls is the one with the...
Oh, I was thinking the one with the Norwegian...
I got this feeling.
Okay, fine.
My boo.
Kong Skull Island.
Wait, Pacific Rim.
The Meg.
Ooh, does Jaws count? It's a big old shark. All right. For the Pirates of the Caribbean, what is it? Dead Man's Chest on Stranger Tides. One of them. It's the Kraken.
Yeah, I know. Oh man, this is like a genre I really like too.
Kaiju.
Yeah, I know, but like I don't know. I mean, I could do a bunch of Godzilla films, but I think that's cheating. There's Godzilla versus Monster Zero. Like I think I'm gonna bow out.
I just gave you one too.
What?
Release the Kraken.
I should have done 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Or Clash of the Titans, one of them.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Oh, well,
I
whatever.
win. All right. So what am I? You ready to get into it? You got anything else to preface our draft with?
No, I think I said everything I need to say.
Say what you need to say. Round 1. I think I'm jacking you with my first pick. I think I'm gonna. My number 1 movie death. Iconic movie death of all time. Are you ready?
Yeah.
It's
Don't do it.
Is
Don't.
I can't even get it out without laughing. I know I'm gonna steal it from you. I can't say it.
Then don't just leave it to.
His name is Boromir, son of Denethor.
Jacked. I hate you right now.
Boromir, Fellowship of the Ring. I mean, it's just iconic in the sense that it really changes the landscape of what is to come. If he doesn't do what he does, then I think all 4 hobbits are going to be captured here, and it changes the entire flow of the story. It's this kind of heroic sacrifice that, I mean, like I said, it changes the entire story of the Lord of the Rings. If he doesn't take, as Tolkien puts it in the book, many arrows, so he's, like I said, the hobbits are taken by the orcs, and I mean they'll probably get away as we see things play out in Two Towers as the Rohirrim come in, but that's neither here or there. I mean, he goes out like a true warrior, a true captain of Gondor, and as he is laying on his deathbed, he refers to Aragorn as his king, his captain. So this is one of those iconic moments in the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy, and it just happens to be a death, I think.
I mean, it's one of it's Sean Bean's the best death scene, and he's got a lot of them.
Yeah,
but I mean, really though, in a world of hobbits, elves, dwarves, and Númenórean men who live well into their 200s, and this is the Fellowship of the Ring, Boromir is us. Boromir represents what humans are, the greatness we can be, the evil we can commit, and the redemption we find in repentance and the restitution that repentance inspires. Boromir's death being preceded by this fall, where he falls into this temptation to take the One Ring. But he's seen the error. He sees what he does. He repents and he tries to fix his error.
Yeah.
And and it's really he's laying down his life for his friends. He knows he's going to die. And I'm reminded by the scripture, greater love has no one than this, that a man laid down his life for his friends. That's what's happening here. And so we see that. And it's not just that he pledges his allegiance to Aragorn, who is his rightful king, but he also confesses what he did.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't have to. No one knows but Frodo.
Right.
But he really, truly feels horrible for what he's done and what he's let himself become. And it's really a touching end. It's as manly as it gets. There's fighting evil, repentance, confession, restitution, pledges of loyalty, tears of sorrow, forgiveness. I mean, it's pure manly heroism. So I think that this is just one of those things that definitely iconic, definitely inspires a lot of people, because honestly, he's one of the most relatable characters in the Fellowship,
Right.
other than the Hobbits. The Hobbits are designed to be somewhat relatable, but Boromir is like actually a regular human being.
Yeah. 100%. 100% with all that. Was that your number one?
No,
No.
that was my number two.
Oh. Ooh.
I went more iconic than you for number one.
Okay.
Because number one is the quintessential icon, the Logos, Jesus of Nazareth, Son of God, in the Passion of the Christ.
Whoa. Yeah, that's intense.
Yeah. The whole movie is based around this death, which changes all of human history, or depending on your theological view, creation itself. It just doesn't get more iconic than this. It's there's been other movie depictions of it. This is the most recent, probably the most grandiose film depiction of the crucifixion of Christ.
Visceral, yeah, but
Right.
Definitely in every sense of the word visceral.
Yeah, it is literally the death to end all deaths. And I don't need to get into the theology. Maybe that would be a different sort of podcast. But it's just one of those things that it means it's the central part of a lot of people's faith. It's archetypal in the sense that it affects our culture and our depictions of movies. Like your choice with Boromir, like there's a lot of Christian elements in that, and the self-sacrifice that we see and that we are going to see, I'm sure, in a lot of these deaths that we pick. They are Christ-like figures, in
absolutely.
a sense. And this is of course one of those cases where the book was far superior to the movie. But it and everybody go read it. I remember Mom making that joke to us. We're going, was it you? You go, there's a book? But you were little.
You got me. I wasn't little. I was in middle school.
Okay, that's still pretty little, dude.
I know, but it's like the joke, she made a joke and it
Right.
flew over my head. Okay.
Right.
Like,
so anyway, beat Jesus. Good luck.
Round 2.
Round 2.
all right, Jamie, you're up again. Beat Jesus. Oh.
You took my number 2 pick with Boromir. So
You'll probably take my number 2 pick here.
with William Wallace in Braveheart.
Yep. You got him. That's my number 2.
Jack.
Jinx.
All right, so we covered this one at length in one of our first podcasts, our deep dive into Braveheart, which was a 2-parter. But for me, this is really the culmination of an epic film that's centered around the adult life of a national war hero, Scotland's national war hero, which is important to us. Of course, as we talked about, heavily fictionalized, but in this case, it makes it a lot better that it's more fictionalized. The gruesome torture and execution of William Wallace is toned down.
Yeah.
But the Christ-like unjust execution motifs, they're really played up. There's even a cross he's splayed out on. And when they rack him, he's strung up in this, crucifix-like sort of thing. So, and again, this is a Mel Gibson movie, so surprise, surprise. We've got 2. I guess I got 2 back to back.
Mel Gibson Deaths. He really goes for it.
Right. And this is Gibson's depiction of Wallace here. I think the acting and cinematography is so spot on. I think he evokes all the right emotions. He cuts to his enemies who like appear to be winning, but they're not. And that's just another added. I could do a whole podcast talking about the parallels between how Gibson portrays William Wallace and biblical motifs. Like that's just a whole thing that he's obviously doing.
Yeah.
But like his enemies, they appear to be winning, but they're not. But it's cutting to his enemies. It's cutting to the crowd. It's cutting to his friends and his lover and the princess. But finally gets that supernatural vision of his long dead soulmate, Murren. And it really balances the gruesome and the beautiful. And it really ties it in with the central theme of the film when he's crying freedom, that freedom is worth dying for. And, he's had to finally put his money where his mouth is, so to speak, and have to lay down his life for freedom.
Yep.
So,
I mean, he never wavers from his beliefs. He, in the scene prior, the princess is trying to get him to take something to soften the pain, to make him live out his days in a tower, if he would just confess or whatever. And he doesn't waver from his belief, that would defeat his fight.
Right.
That would defeat everything he fought for. And even in the face of being tortured, hanged, drawn, quartered, he doesn't ever waver. And I guess it's so iconic because it's heroic and inspiring.
Yeah.
So that's a good number 2. It was my number 2 as well. And I mean, kind of hurts not having it on my list, not gonna lie. But it would have hurt not having Boromir on my list, not gonna lie. Because
I'm with you.
Do you remember the Lord of the Rings action figures I had when those movies came out?
Yeah.
I had like the alerts who could like fire the arrows and Boromir.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a cool little battle set. But anyway. So anyway, for my number 2 is going to be our first dive into superhero-dom.
Uh-oh.
Am I jacking you? No, I don't think I'm jacking you.
Okay.
His name is Logan from Wolverine from the movie Logan. And this is
good choice.
Yeah. No, I didn't jack you here.
No,
I could have easily just like went and jacked you on purpose and then taken Logan later because I know you weren't going to do it. But I was nice. Wait, no. I get back-to-back picks.
Oh God, hate drafting. Are we really hate drafting?
No, it's not hate drafting. I mean, okay, so let's get into Logan. I mean, this is the guy who heals, right? How can he die? Well, apparently in the movie he's adamantium skeleton has been slowly poisoning him. I can't talk. Well, I mean, in the end, this super emotionally charged character. I mean, that his ending is really emotional with X-23. Actually doing the killing of the bad guy here with the adamantium bullet. But I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. But I mean, we spent so much time with this character, much, like, even longer than another one that's probably going to get taken on this. But it's since the year 2000 is when the original X-Men came out. And
sounds right.
2000, 2001, something like that. So we've spent a lot of time with this character, mixed bag, of course, but he's always been on point. The movies may have been kind of trash, but Hugh Jackman has always been on point as Wolverine. He is as iconic as comic book characters come, Wolverine, and Hugh Jackman's portrayal, even if he's a little too tall for the role.
Not Canadian enough, but yeah.
Yeah, sure.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah. So Just it packs a huge punch when he actually is finally dies, and it takes a lot to kill him. But he eventually stops healing and he succumbs to his injuries done by the clone of himself, X-24. And then, of course, at the end, after he's buried, Laura, X-23, she takes the cross and she takes it out and she turns it sideways and it makes the X for X-Men. So I love that too. That was a good little moment, posthumous or whatever you want to say.
With it. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah, I agree. I think that it's one of those deaths that has more impact because it's a character that people, particularly as you're describing it, people love this character. It's iconic over multiple movies over a very long period of time. The only things that are really comparable are like before this are really like long running TV show deaths. And because
who shot JR?
Well, yeah, that sort of thing. But that was more of a mystery, I guess. I mean, it was a little bit surprising, but the thing is like it's that sort of like you get this long build up with the character. It's much more personal because these, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine is like, that's one reason why the X-Men in the MCU is going to be a little bit challenging to cast Wolverine, recast Wolverine, which they're probably going to have to do.
Yeah.
Because, people have identified that character with Hugh Jackman for 20 years. So, I mean, that's a long time.
Yeah.
But that's definitely a good one to have on your list for sure.
Yeah.
Are we retiring Logan now, though?
No. Never.
Okay. But you made me retire Gremlins. Okay.
What? You took the movie twice.
Okay.
I'm just taking the death.
All right.
Logan. Anyway.
Okay. Fair enough.
Number 3. Let's head into round 3, and so I can jack you again.
Are you serious?
Well, maybe you should have won.
Okay.
Man. Okay. So we're in round 3, right?
Round 3.
Yeah.
I had trouble with ranking some of these. Like I said, I made a list of 22 deaths that absolutely affected me and that I saw as iconic. And now I'm having a crisis. Like, maybe I should let you have one. JK. It's Iron Man, Tony Stark from Avengers Endgame.
I concede. I quit. You suck so much right now. This is a total hate draft.
No, it's not. I love this moment.
Go to hell.
Oh, boo freaking who. Okay. This is a death of epic proportions. I mean, 10 years worth of storytelling and most of it good, especially on the Iron Man side. Minus that second movie, which is not good.
Oh, you bitched about second movie and the third movie.
The third movie is okay.
Okay.
The second one is dog trash.
No, it's not.
Anyway. So 10 years worth of storytelling culminating with one final act of heroic sacrifice, much like your number 1 pick. He saw what he had to do, and he saw what snapping with the Infinity Stones did to someone like the Hulk. He absolutely knew it was going to happen if he did it. And he looking at Doctor Strange, who gives him that 1 in whatever, how many million. So yeah, this is a huge blow to any comic book movie fan or MCU nerd or Iron Man junkies, like all the kids who love Iron Man now. That's a huge blow that is definitely going to leave us reeling for years. And that's why it's iconic. Like, I can't. You'll if you're a comic book movie fan, comic book fan, Iron Man fan, you're not going to be okay with Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man not being in the MCU anymore. And that's and it happened in such a awesome fashion that it just has to be on an iconic movie deaths list. I mean, you can't get mad at me for taking that.
Oh, I'm plenty mad at you for taking that.
Why? I took 2 before it. Like,
I don't care. You already jacked me twice, so I got you once. We'll see what I'll see. I may have to switch it up to jack you again.
All right, well,
but
go do your spiel on Iron Man.
Well, yeah, I guess I get to still say my piece. So, I mean, it really does. It comes down to something that's been built up and teased from the first Avengers film. So Cap's challenge, where Cap challenges him that he won't put his life on the line to save others. And, we see that play. We get the satisfying moment where he, self-guides the nuke to blow up the Shatari spaceship. And so we see something similar with him obliterating part of Sokovia in Age of Ultron, and again
Infinity War,
where he faces off against Thanos, and he's only spared by the deal Doctor Strange strikes, and his time is up in Endgame. But he goes out on his own terms. He basically nukes himself to dust Thanos and his entire army. But it's not just that. That's not what makes it so emotionally powerful. It helps that we've seen these brushes with death. But this is daughter Morgan, and that's introduced at the opening of Endgame. And that it's Morgan that makes 5 years later so much of a big deal to us, because we can't just undo what Thanos did and rewind 5 years. And this is what leads to Tony Stark's death, is his love for his daughter. And it makes it doubly devastating to watch him die. I mean, as a dad to young children, one of the biggest reasons I have for living is to make sure that they are, that I help them into adulthood. That's my job. So Tony's self-sacrifice is just so multifaceted, and it's got so many lead ups and so many of these brushes with death that, it's like these pro wrestling false finishes where they have these almost pin sort of things. Like, he almost dies so many times, and we're just like, he's going to be okay. He's going to be okay. He's going to be okay. This is a feel good sort of franchise. And he goes out with I am Iron Man, which is basically how he came into it. And even with Logan, where he's had this long buildup in cinema. I mean, this is even, I think Tony Stark's death here is more powerful because of it feels more singularly led up to, because of all the brushes with death, the PTSD he's suffered, and, really coming to grips with his failures, and as well as his victories. And I think that where it's like Pepper at the end is just like, it's like, you can let go, we've got this. Like, you don't have to, you saved the universe. You don't need to save it as us anymore. And so that's really one of the best build up singular events that has just so many things built up to it. Couldn't do it any other way, I don't think.
And that, you were talking about Pepper, Gwyneth Paltrow. I think her reaction is so well done. It's so reserved and touching. It's not like this big blow up where like, oh my god, and it could have easily been that, but she just kind of, like you said, we'll be okay.
Yeah, I mean, and considering the implications of everything that all these people have dealt with, that's half the universe died, and she's dealt with that for 5 years. I think she's learned to handle these kinds of things. I think people would be a bit in a bit of a different, sort of state of mind. So I wouldn't expect people to react emotionally the same way. But you see it in Peter Parker,
Yeah.
because he got dusted.
Yeah.
He's just been blipped back. So, it's like he's not got the same emotional, I don't know. I wouldn't say security because it's not. It just the PTSD, I guess, that everybody's suffered from living in post snap 5 years. So definitely.
All right. I kind of just want to give it to you now, just like you can have it. We
Nope.
talked about it.
Nope.
You deserve it.
Nope.
All right. All right. Well, it's your number 3.
Geez, I'm already on my 5, and I didn't write a lot of notes for anything else. So, that's one reason I was a little upset about getting jacked so much. So I think I'm probably going to be jacking you, but I don't know for sure. I'm betting based on your geekdom that I am. Darth Vader / Anakin Skywalker in Return of the Jedi.
Nope.
Not even on your short list.
Wasn't even in my 22, man.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
It's good. I mean, it probably should be, but I kept thinking about it and I was like, it's just so like.
Yeah, it's lost a lot of oomph for me over the years.
Yeah.
A lot in part to the prequel trilogy and my distaste for how Anakin was written, particularly his descent to become the Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Vader. No, I feel like I'm undermining my whole point here. But it's a lot of times I just pretend like the original trilogy is the only bit of Star Wars that exists as canon, and everything else is fanfic. So,
if George Lucas is a fan, then sure, yeah.
Well, I'm with it, but whatever. He sucks at writing dialogue. Anyway,
No argument here.
It's got the big reveal of first seeing Vader's face and the redemption of him becoming Anakin Skywalker again and having overthrown the Emperor. It meets the definition of iconic, and this is really why I picked it, because it's so integral to Luke Skywalker's hero's journey in the archetypal reconciliation with the Father. And it's not really, I don't feel like the scene is overwrought. In part because it's like happening on the second Death Star as it's being evacuated, and so it's like this moment that it's not really messing with the pacing because everything behind it, the people are running and stuff's falling down as the attack is going on. But I do think it's undermined a little bit by seeing the Force ghosts of Anakin along with Obi-Wan and Yoda during the celebration on Endor.
Yeah, but that's one of the things that it hurts. It's like I was thinking about Obi-Wan Kenobi from A New Hope, and I'm like, but it's like he's not really dead, right? He struck him down, and now he's more powerful than you could possibly imagine. Like,
right.
And the same thing with Yoda. And I was like, oh, when Yoda dies, it's kind of like sad. But then he comes back as a Force ghost multiple times.
Yeah. And given those things, I don't think that being iconic means that it's perfect or it's the best acted. Otherwise, we'll just find more Mel Gibson film deaths. Like, if you want a really good dramatic death every time, you can do that. But I think this is one that certainly qualifies as iconic, even though it's definitely, as I pointed out, has a lot of problems with it. And the more I watch Return of the Jedi, the more I kind of go, I don't like this film as much as I used to as a kid, But at least it makes
looking up at the poster.
Yeah, at least though it makes sense with its predecessors. But yeah,
sure. Yeah,
unlike a lot of other Star Wars films.
Literally one doesn't make sense with the rest of them.
I don't know. Phantom Menace doesn't make sense. I don't think Revenge of the Sith makes a lot of. It's not good. The Attack of the Clones.
They all make sense.
They make sense. It's just
whether you don't like them or not. We're not getting into this.
That's going to be our sibling rivalry.
But we're not doing the prequels. We're doing the sequels.
We'll do the prequels eventually.
But the prequels make sense. They just have bad dialogue and bad acting. And like I said, I'm not getting into this with you right now. It's your number 4 pick.
Okay, well.
So let's head into round 4.
Round 4.
Round 4. All right.
Round 4.
Fine. I am going to go with Mufasa in The Lion King.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So we talked about this at some length on our Disney animated film draft. And this is one of those scenes where it was a lot of children's first interaction with death in film. It's
this and Bambi, right?
Well, yeah, but Bambi doesn't get as much replay. Like Mufasa, I mean, The Lion King, came out so that came out when a lot of millennials were, growing up, and it was super popular and still is. And I watched The Lion King in multiple languages in, Spanish class and French class and things like that. Whereas never had that treatment with Bambi. Also, Bambi, I believe it's off screen and just heavily implied with the death.
What about Fox and the Hound?
It's still sanitized more than this one.
Yeah, I know. And this one, I mean, that's how the movie ends, right? Fox and the Hound.
Yeah, I believe so.
We just left to sit with our freaking emotions with that one. This one, we get a whole movie ahead of us, so we get to sit with this one too.
Yeah, but yeah, this is one of those films. It's iconic. I mean, it's certainly iconic. It means a lot to a lot of people. It's a lot of. It's a big deal in part because it's a children's movie, or a family movie, if you would prefer that. And it opens up a lot of avenues. It plays on a lot of fears of children and parents, like I talked about with Iron Man. It's this thing of okay, well, what happens if I die and leave my kid? And oh great, there's proverbial or analogous to wild hyenas roaming the land and evil people. It's just this horrible thing. You don't want to leave your child in this dark world where you can't protect them. And so that's Mufasa's death. I think it relates to both children and parents in different ways. So it's one of those things that, like watching Home Alone for me, where I start watching the film, identify with the child. When I grow up, I identify with the adult, and it's like watching a whole new film in some ways. So, yeah.
That was your number 4?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, this is a lot of millennials' first experience with having to cope with death in a movie. Right, as their first, and they really let us sit with it. And Jeremy Irons as Scar really just builds that moment up too. And of course, James Earl Jones as Mufasa. That whole moment is like a punch in the gut. Even as a kid, it's like your first. It's like your first experience with the feels, right? I'm watching this and I get punched. I'm like, Mom, there's something wrong. There's something wrong in my tummy.
Right.
I'm like, I don't know what this feeling is, but I don't like it. And then you're left to stew the rest of the movie like Simba is, you're in that boat with him. And then of course we get the reflection, the constellation, that scene where he sees his that Rafiki or whatever.
Right. And that's also that archetypal thing that we see with Darth Vader with the atonement with the father. It's a different case because Mufasa is the archetype of the noble king, where, you know, you've got Darth Vader being the tyrant king too. So like you have, what's one reason I love both Lion King and the original Star Wars trilogy is because it follows this Joseph Campbellite, whatever, I don't know, hero's journey thing, and it follows it really well. And it's useful to, you know, when I'm like trying to point out some of these archetypes in my class, like it's I like it, and I think that's one reason that they work so well. So
It's a good one.
yeah,
It's the only animated one we've taken so far.
so far.
So far.
So am I a 5 or you? No, you got to go.
I need to take my 4.
Okay.
I'm gonna be a little controversial, I guess. I am going with my 4th round pick. I'm going in with Superman and Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Okay, say what you will about the movie, about the film.
It wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
But this again is a selfless act of sacrifice. And this Doomsday is literally unkillable, and the only person to get the job done is Superman. I guess Wonder Woman probably could have done it, but this is a moment for him. He saves humanity, who's largely rejected his presence on Earth, much like someone else we know. And his line before he does it all, he looks at the love of his life, Lois Lane, and he says, "I love you." And she pleads with him to don't do it. You know, like, you don't have to do this. And he said, "This is my world. You are my world." And then that Hans Zimmer score starts to pick up, and I'm like, yeah. So this is like definitely a different take on Superman, one that has to really struggle with what it means to be a human in a place that rejects him as who he really is, this super being, this god. And that's kind of how DC's planted its heroes, right? These gods struggling to be humans. If you juxtapose that with Marvel, it's these humans who are having to struggle with becoming these super being, you know. Anyway, but this whole moment that before his death, and is something that happens in Man of Steel, is you know, his dad, played by Kevin Costner, is like telling him, like, somewhere else you have another father, and he sent you here for a reason, and even if he takes you the rest of your life, you owe it to yourself to find out what that reason is. And this is that moment for Clark Kent. Like, he's like, this is it. This is the reason I'm here, is to save the world. And it changes the world in this, you know, in this universe, and this trilogy. It changes the world, and it's very much a mirror image of Christ's sacrifice. And I think that's why it packs such a good punch for me. And combined with the fact that I love the death of Superman storyline from the comics when I was younger, it just was very well done, in my opinion. And yeah, some people are like, "Oh, it was unearned. You only did it in the second movie." I'm like, not everybody has 800 movies like Marvel or X-Men. Like, let's just, like, this is the story you wanted to tell. Birth, death, resurrection. Like, yes, we know he's coming back, but that's what makes it so beautiful, right? Like, Jesus's death doesn't mean anything without the resurrection. So
That's what the Apostle Paul says. Yeah.
right. So it's like, that's what makes this so beautiful, is that then that moment at the end when we see the little dust, the dirt on the coffin start to levitate a little bit. You're like, hope, you know, that's what Superman represents. That's what the symbol on his chest means. And there's actually of course, this is going to have huge repercussions if the trailer for the new Justice League thing, you know, Zack Snyder's Justice League, it's going to have bigger repercussions in this film than it did in the previous Joss Whedon version. So it's
The iteration that does not exist.
Right. I mean, if you've seen the trailer, his yell as he's been stabbed sends a shockwave across the world, and it kind of, I think it wakes up the mother boxes. Anyway, I don't know. That's speculation, but it does send a shockwave. And there's this really awesome moment as he dies, like after he's dead. Lois Lane runs up and she's like, oh, like you could feel her, you know, like you see, I mean, Amy Adams is one of the best actresses alive. So she's like, you see her visibly like, oh no, you know?
Mhm.
And Wonder Woman sees her, she looks back at her, and you're like, they have this eye connection. You're like, shit. And now in retrospect, knowing stuff like seeing Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 1984, you're like, this moment is so good because there's this moment where they look at each other and she's like, I feel your pain. I understand what this means for you. I understand what it means to lose the love of your life in a moment like this, in a moment of sacrifice, which is what Steve Trevor does in Wonder Woman. So it's like, there's just things that build on top of each other as this whole thing goes. And then the rest of the movie is dealing with like how to honor Superman. Like this guy who has been rejected, how do we honor him? And of course they give him a soldier's death, but an empty coffin. That
Right. I think you made a lot of good points there, so I'm not going to add a lot. But one of them, I mean, this is also kind of reminiscent of the King Arthur, Arthurian legends, you know, the once and future kings sort of thing going on there too, which has also got a lot of Christ-like imagery. Of course, we don't actually have the return of King Arthur, but there's still, you know, the legend remains that you know, he will return to rule England when it's, you know, when it comes and it's necessary, or Britain or whatever, you know,
King of the Britons.
Right. So,
but it's a little like you were saying, it's Arthurian in a lot of ways. That and a lot of the film is very Arthurian. Excalibur, the movie Excalibur in particular, but it's a little flip-flopped when they stab each other, Doomsday and Superman. Like Superman grabs onto Doomsday and pulls himself into it, and which is how Mordred and Arthur do their thing.
Right, and Mort Arthur, which is Sir Thomas Mallory, which it's that same sort of thing. You've got a lot of those tropes playing out, and so I kind of wonder if the you got to be careful when you're doing some of these. Like Gibson's stuff can be kind of overt sometimes. Like so it's like hiding your sources. Hide your sources in fiction. List your sources in nonfiction. You know, that's the thing you're going with here. But yeah, I mean, I think what they were trying to do in there is good. I don't know that the execution, some of it has to do, I think, with my dislike for Superman. I just don't like him. Like,
how can you not like the guy?
Because it's like you don't. I think we have an inclination as people to not like perfection, or to be, maybe we're either suspicious of perfection, we fear it, and I mean even jealous of it to some extent. So like I really liked your when you loaned me the comics of what was it when Superman Injustice, yeah, when Superman basically becomes a dictator, and it's like for the greater good. But it's like, no, see, this I buy it because I'm like, this is what would happen. All it would take is for something bad enough to happen to Superman for him to be the worst possible person. And for so long his character has been, and I know it's like an alternate reality or whatever, but like for so long his character has been unimpeachable as far as honor and doing the right thing is concerned. So it's just a little bit, but I like the opening of Batman v Superman, where you're like, no, look at everything that he's right. All this chaos and carnage that he was just kind of oblivious of. So they do the job is not bad. It's certainly the best bit of Superman, other than Injustice, in the comics that I've seen. So I'll give it that credit.
Not even real Superman. Injustice.
Oh yeah, no. Well, see, my problem is my.
But within the context of Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and then as we see, as we'll come to see in Zack Snyder's Justice League. But I think that in the context of his trilogy, especially the first two movies, this Superman is imperfect, and he struggles a lot with what is the right thing to do. Should he act? And why should he act? And this film, BVS, Batman v Superman, has a lot of the same themes as Captain America: Civil War. And the fact is, like, should we act? Why should we act? Should we act unilaterally? And who should have oversight over these super beings? So in that sense, who should have oversight over Superman? I mean, he's literally the most powerful being in the universe, in the world. I'm not going to say universe, because things like Darkseid do exist, but he's literally the most powerful being in the world. How is he supposed to cope with that? Because he was raised as a boy, to hide his powers and all this other stuff. But this is just a little preview on what we have to come.
Yeah.
In our new podcast series. We'll talk about it at the end of the podcast, though. So, all right. So that is my round 4 pick, and as long-winded as it was, you'd think it was my number 1 pick. I'm just very passionate about my Superman. So it's your turn for round 5.
Did we do that right? No, you get round 5.
I get round 5.
Round 5.
All right. I don't think I'm stealing you here. I don't think I'm jacking you again.
I don't have anything. Everything else was just
everything is jacked.
Everything was my second tier.
All right. Well, this is in my second tier, but it's my shock value pick. What is that? IPA factor. All right. Double dank. Double APA. All right.
That's Sun River Brewing. That's from my vacation.
All right. So this is my shock value pick. My what's it called? My second tier is breaking into my shock value pick.
Your dark horse. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this one is probably the most shocking death in, I think, film history. It's completely out of the blue. And let's see if this name means anything to you. His name's Billy Costigan Jr., played by Leonardo DiCaprio in The Departed.
Oh, no.
Okay. Like I said, it's super shocking. It doesn't pack a huge emotional punch, aside from the fact that we've spent most of the movie with him. And we feel really bad for the way he goes, but he's just chilling in an elevator with Matt Damon. And he just arrests Matt Damon. Do you remember this movie?
I watched it in college on a little TV.
Anyway,
in my girlfriend's apartment.
So, I mean, this moment is insane. Like, but I think the
iconicity.
I don't know. I think it's iconography. I don't know. It's all about its shock value, and it's just like we have a huge tense moment with these two on the rooftop, Matt Damon and Leonardo DiCaprio's character. Billy finally arrests Matt Damon's character, and they're getting in the elevator to go down, and they're just kind of like silent, and we're coming down from a very tense moment. Elevator opens. Leo's brains go against the wall. I'm like, what? They just killed the main character like that? Like, we thought he won. He's been undercover, having to deal with all this stuff, and then you're just like, blah. I guess we should have done a spoiler warning at the beginning of this episode, but I guess movie deaths is self-implied. Yeah. So, bro, this one's, yeah. So this is my shock value pick.
Fair enough. I mean, I don't have a lot to say about it. I don't think that makes it iconic. I would argue that it's not a great way to round out your picks, but
I mean, it definitely
certain-
it's iconic in the way that shock value picks are. We're in the way that it's a shocking death.
okay.
Like,
I mean, I
it's
don't disagree that it gets some shock, but here's the thing: is shock wears off.
yeah,
It
but
doesn't stay. It doesn't stick.
it is a plot twist, though.
Sure.
Anyway.
But they, as we know from Empire Strikes Back, your plot twists eventually become tropes. So I'm okay with it. I mean, I'm not challenging it, or anything like that. But I don't know. I don't see it as particularly iconic, but definitely shocking, which you've argued that it was. So I'm gonna let it go. Now I'm stuck, but I guess I'm gonna pick the better love story. It's always a better love story than Twilight. Ellie in Pixar's Up. This is yeah, you making the sad face. This is basically a short silent film before the full-on movie. And like, I remember watching this first time, and like, I looked around and there were like tears everywhere. It's this story of a childhood friendship turned romance to old age and then death. And it's not I can't watch the opening of this film without welling up.
Yeah.
And like, it's designed properly to jerk your tears, and it works. It's happy and sad, and we understand that there's a real love going on here, but we all fear it. It's like, how many times do you want, I don't know, you have this you can have this conversation with your spouse or your partner about who should go first, because who's more equipped to handle the death of the other one.
We're notebooking it over here,
right? Oh, that was a good one too, actually. Yeah. I mean, I cried on that one. Like, I liked The Notebook. I watched it once, but it's like, it's one of those movies that, like, I watch and I don't need to watch it again, but I remember it very well because I was captivated through it. But I don't want to watch all the other ones because it's like, okay, I don't need this. But with Ellie and Up, I just think that it sets the characters so well. And it really kind of sets now I'm forgetting his name, the old man's character. Yeah.
McGee.
Yeah, I don't think that's it. But anyway, it really kind of sets up why he's so sad and what's missing in his life. And we saw that. But we fear that whether you've been, never married or married for 3 years or married for 40, 50.
Carl Frederickson.
There you go.
Played by Ed Asner.
I love Ed Asner.
Anyway, he passed away recently, didn't he? No, he's still alive.
He's just old as dirt.
Some magnificent eyebrows, though.
Oh man, he's got like eyebrows like pawpaw, like
caterpillars.
Yeah,
like these bad boys are going to turn into.
Mm-hmm. I have to keep mine in check. So Ellie in Pixar's Up is going to be my 5th and final pick.
So my shock value you had a problem with, but super sad you don't have a problem with?
I think it's super. Yeah, no, it's not just about super sad. Like,
I'm messing with you, dude. I'm messing with
oh,
you.
okay. Well, it's about being relatable. Like, I can't relate to somebody's brains being blown out. Like,
But like I said, we're left with, like Mufasa, where this happens early in the movie, and we're left with
the
our
aftermath.
emotions. Yeah, we're left with our emotions, which, I mean, Pixar's the master of doing this, right? They tug on emotional strings, but they also uplift us too throughout the films.
That's one reason they're rewatchable. Like, it's just really well crafted. It doesn't do it in such a brutal way. So,
All right,
yeah.
you ready for some bench warmers?
Yeah, let's
recap. Let's recap
Oh, yeah,
first.
let's do that.
All right, me, Ian, IAN. That's me. My number one is Boromir.
Jack.
My number. I'm just laughing at you. My number two is Logan. I'm sorry. My number one is Boromir from Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. My number two is Logan from Logan. My number three is Iron Man / Tony Stark from Avengers Endgame. My number four is Superman from Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. And my number five pick is Billy Costigan Jr. from The Departed.
And I, James, my number one is Jesus of Nazareth, Son of God in The Passion of the Christ. Number two, William Wallace in Braveheart. Number three, Tony Stark. No, I mean, number three, Darth Vader / Anakin Skywalker in Return of the Jedi. Number four, Mufasa in The Lion King. And number five, Ellie in Pixar's Up. Now, I told y'all at the beginning of this podcast that it was probably going to be a Jack Fest, and I was right. And we've still left a lot on the table. So let's see what some of us thought we were leaving on the table with some bench warmers.
You go first since I jacked you more times.
All right, I'm going to take three, but I'm going to take my first one, which I don't think should make the list because I don't think it's necessarily iconic, but it affected me most as a child. So it's Thomas J. That is Macaulay Culkin's character from My Girl.
My Girl.
Yeah. So
the bees.
I know.
Allergic. His glasses. He can't see without his glasses.
You're such
Sorry.
a jerk.
I know.
Anyway.
That's an emotional scene. I cry every time. It's why I can't watch the movie.
I haven't seen that movie in a very long time, but I think this is the first movie that, as a child, I cried watching. So, or that the first movie that I cried watching. Period. I saw it before The Lion King. Obviously, it came out 4 years before. So I was probably 5. I think I was 5 when it came out. Yeah, 5. And yeah, I actually called Mom to ask her if she had any insight for when I first watched the film, because I don't really remember it very well, but I remembered this film. But she reminded me that the actress Shlumsky, I can't remember her first name, Anna Shlumsky.
I think it is Anna. I was going to say Amy, but it jumped.
Yeah. Well, she looks like our cousin Tiffany.
Oh, she does, yeah.
So and still does, honestly. She's 5 years older than her, but so that was a relatable point. And it's the first film that I watched where a child died. And even with Mufasa dying, as it's a parent dying, so you have a different relationship with the whole thing as a parent, as a kid, rather. With this, it's the child dying, and you are faced, if you watch this as a child, you're faced with death of yourself or of a peer, and that's really, really challenging. So for me, the boy, I probably identified more with the boy and feeling kind of in love with the girl, and going oh, it's blah. Well, I'm identifying with this Macaulay Culkin character, and oh, he dies. That's scary. I can die, you don't think about that as a kid, and this movie kind of puts that there. So anyway, that's my first bench warmer.
My first bench warmer is Bing Bong, Bing Bong. Bing Bong, the imaginary friend from Inside Out. Bruh. What a tearjerker, man. Like, Pixar, again, just knows how to tug on your heart, your tear ducts, all the above. They just yank tears right out of you. But that moment, I remember it happening in the theater, and I'm already crying throughout the whole damn movie. But the moment where they launch off to get out of the underworld, basically is what it is, and he kind of jettisons himself so that he won't weigh her down, and he's like, I forget what he says. He says, like, I don't know, but they're singing a song like Bing Bong, Bing Bong. I don't know, but anyway. Yeah, super emotional when you see that.
Fair enough. All right, so my second and last bench warmer pick.
I thought you were doing 2.
I did too.
I thought you were doing 3.
Nah. Okay, I'm going to do one real quick, and then I'm just going to go into the other one. I was going to do Hans Gruber and Die Hard because it's just like, it's classic, right? And I love Alan Rickman. Holy crap! We didn't think to take any of the Harry Potter ones.
I mean, they're on my short list, aka
I really should have. That's an oversight on my part. Sorry, Potterheads, that was my bad. But I'm still gonna take my funny one in Greedo in Star Wars: A New Hope. So yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Because Han shoots only
in the original, yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
All right.
No, really, I can't believe I was ready to take on Gruber and not Severus Snape or Dumbledore. Whatever.
Sirius Black.
Well, that was kind of messed. Like, the aftermath is more important with Sirius Black. Like, yeah.
I'm just saying that's another huge Potter death.
Yeah.
Harry Potter dies, right?
I literally had this conversation with the wife right before, and and she was like, "But does he die though?" I'm like, it's kind of ambiguous, He could decide to go on, but he doesn't. Like, it's hard to say. But I was trying to stick with people who stayed dead. So, but I feel bad for skipping the Harry Potter stuff. That's not like me. I like my top 5 choices. Oh.
Yeah, they're good. Yeah. I'm gonna go with John Coffey. It's like coffee, but spelled different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was
unlike a lot of them on my list. I mean, you're like emotionally attached to these characters, but this one it sits different. It hits different because it's just so wrong what happens to him.
Yeah, it's unjust.
It's unjust. That's an innocent man being, and we watch, much as Tom Hanks' character has to watch someone who he's come to know as a good man, someone with these extraordinary powers, just have to be executed because of the letter of the law. There's no, and we know that he's innocent. He did not kill these kids, these little girls or whatever. And just after watching this movie, you're definitely not okay. Like, that's why I think it's so iconic, is that you're definitely not okay once the movie's over and you're just sitting there like, damn it. Like, yes, this is kind of fantastical because it's Stephen King and he has these extraordinary powers, but
nothing about the situation though is that terribly fantastical. Like,
no, he takes something that does happen. People are unjustly imprisoned for things they didn't do, whether we know about it or not. But
not just that, but also the racial prejudice element too.
That too. So you're just like, shit. Sorry. I went the entire podcast without cursing.
No, you already cursed once.
I said damn.
No, you already. No.
Anyway,
I'm a teacher. I pick up on these things.
okay, sorry, but yeah, you're definitely not okay with this this death. Like Pepper Potts says, like, we'll be okay once Iron Man dies. Like,
right.
When John Coffey dies, we ain't okay. Okay, we're not okay.
No, and
with
that's
what
why,
happens to him,
no,
and that's why that makes it such an iconic and powerful death.
I agree. And that's one reason that I cannot watch this film very often, because it's like, I feel that way. It's like, wow, this is a great movie. I can't really subject myself to this because, like, I've watched films like that and, you know, it messes me up for days afterward because I dwell on these things. Mm-hmm. So I see it once and I go, wow, that was powerful. Wow, that was good. I'm going to carry this around with me for a very long time, and I don't need to watch it again.
Yeah.
So
my next one in line was Severus Snape.
Oh,
not so much just his death, but through his death, the tears that happen, and you get all this exposition through his memories.
I would have taken Dumbledore instead.
Dumbledore.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We
could do Harry Potter moments.
Yeah, we should. All right. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah. Not to movie deaths, but just what we have coming in the future.
Ah, yes.
So next episode, we're going to do a surprise draft. We're each going to pick 2 categories, and then we're going to roll a D4 and just basically blind draft these things. He doesn't know my 2, and I don't know his 2. So
yeah, no prep, and I'm gonna suck.
Me too. I'm gonna be like, beep. My face is gonna be the color of his shirt, and it's gonna be great.
Yeah. And
then after that, we're gonna have our first new series. It's gonna be called Cine-Sibling Rivalry. It's where one of us is gonna choose a film that we like, the other one doesn't, and we're gonna get a partner in to help us change the other guy's mind a little bit.
Yeah, this is basically the only reason I ever agreed to do the podcast to begin with, because of our disagreements. And I thought that they would be so good on a podcast to hear us argue and yell at each other.
We're going to try to keep it as civil as possible.
You're not going to call me a little shit?
No, maybe, probably. But so our first one is we're gonna dive into Man of Steel, Batman v Superman. Obviously, one of the movies that I adore
and I don't care about at all.
He doesn't care. I'm gonna have our friend Stan back on to help me because he likes the movies. He said Man of Steel is the best comic book movie out there. So
he's gonna have a hard task to make me get anywhere near that.
So and then down the line we're gonna tackle The Last Jedi in the sequel trilogy.
And I'm going to try to convince Ian that they suck.
Right. He's going to have a partner, Josh, who's been on the podcast before.
Twice.
He's going to jump in because he hates...
he hates The Last Jedi. He likes the others just fine, but I hate them all.
See, I'm not... I like The Last Jedi. I think it's the best out of the sequel trilogy, but I think...
oh, gosh. All right.
So we'll save it. We'll save it. We'll save it.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what's coming down the line for us.
All right. Well, I think Ian, it's time to sign off. Because you're going to give too much away.
Okay. Signing off. This has been the Cine-Siblings podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Like us on YouTube. Hit that like button. Hit subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. And you can find us on Facebook,
social media.
All the social medias. We tweet stuff sometimes.
Word.
I'm Ian.
I'm James.
And go watch a new movie.
Or enjoy an old one.
Peace out, guys. Thanks for listening to the Cine-Siblings podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Cine-Siblings Pod.